Fans of challenging titles with great combat will fall in love with the brutal gameplay of Katana Zero. Today, we're going to talk about fantastic ninja games. Katana Zero puts you in the shoes of a skilled swordsman who uses a katana to spread death and destruction all around. The game is definitely not easy, with your character being downed in a single hit. However, dealing with multiple failed runs until you get the perfect one never ceases to be satisfying. It's another gem from Devolver Digital. An indie party game featuring powerful warriors, Samurai Gun is a fun title to whip out at a moment's notice. It might not have the deepest gameplay around, but the systems are competent enough to serve up some fun rounds that you can enjoy with friends. It's easily one of the most underrated games on this list. The game deserves more love, especially given how fun its brawler combat can really be. If China has Dynasty Warriors, then Japan has Samurai Warriors. The fourth entry in the series is the highest rated among the bunch and continues the Dynasty Warriors-esque gameplay of lone warriors hacking down enemy hordes like lawnmowers. Of course, Samurai Warriors also has its own stars in the form of the most popular samurai icons in Japanese history. Like most Japanese games involving samurai, it takes place during the Warring States period of Japan. It's worth noting that this game has the same publisher/developer as Dynasty Warriors. On the surface, Samurai Shodown looks like another 2.5D anime-style fighting game, like Street Fighter 4, but with weapons. Delve deeper and players will find that it's a far more strategic and tactical fighting game that requires timing and patience. There's a certain rhythm to Samurai Shodown's combat system that makes the game feel totally unique. There are counterattacks and defensive moves, like rolls and parrying, that can change the tide of battle in an instant. Yet despite these hardcore mechanics, Shodown is very accessible and easy to pick up for brand new players. There's really only one super solid choice to follow up Ghost of Tsushima with, and that would be its fellow PS5 exclusive clone Rise of the Ronin. It's from veteran studio Team Ninja, which knows a thing or two about this genre from its Nioh games, except this one ditches the fantasy elements to focus more on the historical and political side of the Tokugawa shogunate story. In an interview with the outlet Automaton, Rise of the Ronin's director Fumihiko Yasuda admitted that Ghost of Tsushima was one of the games we used as reference. Just by looking at the gameplay image above you could already start to see exactly how, but the game is also more expansive in its traversal, allowing grappling that's more like Sekiro and using a glider instead of just riding horseback.
Tsushima might be one of the oldest franchises currently, with the original game from Konami released in 1987. Waiting 35 years for a sequel is certainly a long time, but Konami is in the process of delivering it. Thanks to Guru with Tsushima, Ending Moon, which is currently available. Ending Moon is a hack-and-slash with roguelike elements, where you control a distant descendant of the original game, as the leader of the Jetsu clan. You charge headlong into hell to discover WHY the barrier between the living world and the dead world as weakened, and also to find your missing brother along the way.
Even though it's a game that combines fighting styles from all over the world, Soul Calibur 6 features one of the most iconic samurai fighters in the history of video games in Mitsurugi. He has been a mainstay of the series, featured in every entry. As a result, he is one of the most refined and powerful characters in the series. He has different stances to master which will feel familiar to fans of Ghost of Tsushima's various stances and fighting styles. The Shadow Warrior series might be a bit more unexpected in terms of gameplay for those who are used to Ghost of Tsushima's combat system. This series of games is entirely FPS-based with a mix of katana and machine guns, adding some boomer shooter aesthetics to the gory hack-and-slash systems. You are protagonist Lo Wang, not a samurai, but an equally skilled assassin in the present day, who has to fight ancient demonic enemies that invade. Some of those enemies that you get to battle will even include Samurai Armored Toro and Laser Shogun. And you can think of this game as Doom, Ghost Runner, and Nioh rolled into one, with an impressive gore system. Another fantasy samurai game would be the Souls-like Nioh series, the last installment being Nioh 2. It's more liberal in its use of monsters and demons compared to Onimusha, and it's certainly not a game for those looking to have casual fun and fulfillment. Nioh 2 being a Souls-like makes it frustrating and more challenging than the typical samurai game. However, nothing should stop a good hardcore action RPG fan from trying it out. Besides, It has some of the best samurai fashion armor pieces ever in a video game. Although it's visually different, Shadow Tactics, Blades of the Shogun is the perfect game for those players of Ghost of Tsushima who love tackling every enemy camp and base with a tactical mind. It's a real-time tactical stealth game with mechanics that are very similar to the critically acclaimed Commandos and Desperados series. Instead of a World War II or an American Wild West setting, Shadow Tactics takes place during Japan's Edo period. You take control of a samurai warrior, ninjas, a trap expert, and a rifleman who are tasked with infiltrating fortresses and camps using espionage, sabotage, and the element of surprise. If you love anime, especially Netflix's Blue Eye Samurai, or anything using the heavy visual feedback Muso hack-and-slash combat system from developer Koei Tecmo, like Warriors Orochi, Samurai Warriors, or Dynasty Warriors, Fate/Samurai Remnant might just be right up your alley. Similar to many games of its kind, it's likewise set in the Edo period of Japan's history. But it's also not just your regular samurai game, however, as you have the adorable mechanic of getting to pet dogs and cats to restore some of your health. This may feel reminiscent of petting the foxes in Ghost of Tsushima. Technically, the protagonist of Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, is a shinobi or a ninja, but that could be forgiven, as the game is chock full of samurai looking to kill him anyway. It involves Wolf, a fallen dishonored shinobi tasked with retrieving his kidnapped lord from power-hungry clan leaders. Though they aren't all that similar, FromSoft's most recent Souls-like does bear a resemblance to Sucker Punch's Ghost of Tsushima. The former is far more unforgiving than the latter, however, and players without extensive experience in the Souls games will likely find progressing to be pretty difficult. Taking inspiration from Akira Kurosawa's movies like Ran, Seven Samurai, and Yojimbo, much like Ghost of Tsushima's Kurosawa mode also does, Trek to Yomi's environment is designed fully in a black and white grayscale color. It adds a lot to the cinematic tone and dramatic flair that this game is going for. The gameplay is essentially Ghost of Tsushima and Nioh as a side-scroller rather than an open-world hack-and-slash, as it also comes with lots of brutal animations and giant folkloric entities to fight. Despite its minimalized aesthetic, it's truly one of the most memorable samurai experiences you'll have in a game. The Yakuza/Like a Dragon games generally stick to the same modern-day period, but in 2014, there was a spin-off Japan-only release called Ryu-Jie Gotoku Ishin, which finally received a remake in 2023 and launched in the US and other regions. Like a Dragon, Ishin takes you to 1860s Japan, following a samurai in the late Edo period. It's the world of Yakuza you know and love, the familiar character counterparts like Majima and Kiryu, and the outrageously fun beat-em-up combat, but set in the historical backdrop of 19th century Japan. You now get a katana and pistol, and a story that revolves around real-life samurai Sakamoto Ryoma on a path to avenge his father's murder. Sadly, this one is only available on the PC, but anyone with a decent laptop these days has a good chance of running it. Total War Shogun 2 is the best and most intricate samurai strategy game out there. It features the most massive and stunningly beautiful battles in all strategy games. 2. The fact that this one takes place in several time periods in feudal Japan just makes it all the better. The main campaign lets players take control of one of the powerful clans in feudal Japan vying for the shogun's favor or trying to become the shogun themselves. Expansions also encompass other time periods, including the gunpowder-dominated Meiji era. Well, he might not have a ponytail, and he might not be Japanese, but the titular Afro Samurai is voiced by none other than Samuel Jackson. Can't say no to that. It's a rather simple game based on the animated series of the same name. This time around, players take on the role of Afro in his quest to become the #1 warrior. It just so happens that the current #1 is a dude named Justice who killed his father. It's a 2-for-1 revenge story that's worth playing for Samuel Jackson's voice alone. For a samurai-themed game with a fantasy twist, then players can't go wrong with the Onimusha series. Onimusha 3, Demon Siege is the latest among all three games and is also the highest rated of the lot. Onimusha 3 isn't just content with the fantasy spin, but it also adds a modern-day time travel flavor by incorporating a French soldier voiced by Jean Reno who somehow got stuck in 16th century demon-infested Japan. That ought to be interesting. Now, for a samurai-themed game where the protagonist is actually a Japanese samurai, and the whole thing takes place in Japan. Way of the Samurai 4 should do the trick. It's the latest entry in the series, and it was released in 2012. It might not be as highly acclaimed as Ghost of Tsushima, but the time period Way of the Samurai 4 takes place in is interesting. That would be the post-isolationist era of Japan, around the same time period the Rurouni Kenshin anime is based on. Speaking of Japanese history, the Kessen games should attract any interested audience. It's a real-time strategy released back in the year 2000 for the PlayStation 2, a console that didn't see many entries in the genre. Kessen, the first one, at least, is a digital battleground where players get to control the outcome of the Battle of Sekigahara and many other conflicts between the Tokugawa clan and the Toyotomi clan during the Sengoku period. Released on the PS1 in 1997, Bushido Blade is a purist's dream and a sword-fighting game that was the polar opposite of the arcade-style mechanics of the Soul Calibur series. It remains as close to a samurai combat simulator as it can possibly get. Every fight is about targeting body parts to weaken the opponent or going for an instant kill strike. Players need to learn how to time their parries and deflect attacks with precision-perfect timing while also honoring the samurai code of Bushido. Subscribe if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, as that really helps a lot. If you think any game is missing or if you're planning to play any of these games, don't forget to leave a comment. Those were the top 20 best Samurai games. This has been another video from New Quest Play, and I'll be here waiting for you for the next quest.